Hi everyone and welcome. So today we have a new session. This time is about AI in MyRapidi. So this is a session where we want to have a general overview of AI and how AI is being used in MyRapidi. And I will show you a few things so that you can see exactly where you can find all that information. Now, let's look at the agenda, pretty short here. So we have the overview. We do want to give an explanation and also give a bit of details about our AI and how things work. Then we have the second one, which is about AI capabilities, what it can do for now. Of course, this is always changing and adapting. And then a short demo. I will do a short walkthrough of what you would see right now. Of course, things can change in the future in the sense that we are going to implement more with regards to AI, so then you'll have more functionalities available. Then questions. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat, add any questions, anything that comes to your mind. Then we have upcoming sessions. So we have two more as part of our office hours season, so to speak. And then we have resources. So let's talk a bit about the overview. So when it comes to Rapidi, we do want to talk about the Rapidi's AI assistant. So he's called Albert. So then you will see Albert across different areas of the platform, right? So it's not like an add-on or anything, it's just embedded within the platform, and it will help users to use the platform better, or maybe to troubleshoot or do many other things. And of course, there are certain areas where we already see Albert right now. So one of them would be support. So as you have noticed, when you raise a support ticket, then you get this instant reply from Albert. So Albert is reading your email, your comment on the ticket, and then it analyzes that information and it tries to help by giving options or maybe recommendations. So it will always try to do that so that it can speed up the process. And then sometimes it's really useful because it definitely gives you some direction in that sense, and it helps you to better understand what the error is. And then, of course, we have another area. So within logs, you'll also see Albert. So if you have errors, for example, maybe you have a transfer running, so then there are errors in there, then Albert is available within the logs, and then you should be able to talk to him directly from that logs section. So by doing that, then you give Albert all the information about the error message, and then he will try to give you recommendations or maybe to help to actually troubleshoot. Then you have the chat functionality. So this one is available, anyone can see it. So you have a separate chat, you can go into the chat and talk to Albert. You can ask anything. So you can ask about connections, about transfers, schedules. You can ask him to create a connection, for example. You can ask him to set up a schedule if you want to, or to actually give you a list of maybe transfers that fall into a specific category, or maybe certain schedules. So you can play around with that and ask any information with regards to your service. So it's really easy to use it. You just use the chat, add your questions, and then you'll have like a normal conversation with him. And then the last point is about automation. So this is a more, I would say more advanced in that sense, because then Albert can also be part of what we call background automation. So you can build custom agents and also use MCP. Of course, when it comes to custom agents right now, we can set them up for you if you need a specific agent that needs to do something in particular for your service. And when it comes to MCP, we have a separate session about it. So I will explain there a bit more, because this is a more, I would say, complex topic. So we need to cover more things there. But just as an idea, within Rapidi, you have many options, and you can definitely use Albert to actually, set up any kind of automation for your specific integration. So these are the main areas for now. So then I just want to highlight some of the AI capabilities. So when it comes to support, you get this reply automatically. So it will attempt to resolve. Of course, if, for example, you get a response from Albert on a ticket and it's not, I would say, 100% correct, or maybe it's not complete, you can also give feedback about that, because we always try to improve that and ensure that the responses are correct and that the responses stick to the actual issue that you have highlighted. So we always want to get feedback and understand if there are situations when maybe you did not receive the right answer, right, for a specific issue. And then talking about logs, what I explained earlier is that within logs, whenever there's an error message, you can click on the Albert icon. So that will be next to the error message. And when you click on it, it will open a separate page. So it basically opens a new chat with Albert, and it will copy the full error message that you had in logs. So it will copy that, send it to Albert, and then Albert will reply to you with a solution, recommendations, or anything that's linked to that. So then you can either use this option. So from logs, you go straight to Albert, like you click on the Albert icon, and then you just have a new chat created. Or you can simply go to the to Albert directly and start a new chat from scratch. So then when it comes to the individual chat, like separate chat, you can write anything, any questions. You can write in any language. So if you want to talk to Albert in German, you can do that. If you want Spanish, you can also do that. He will reply to you in the same way. So if you start a conversation in English, he will continue like that. If you use a different language, he will also reply to you in that specific language. So it also helps you in that area. For example, if it's, if for you it's more comfortable to talk in a specific language. So he can, get information with regards to anything that's on your integration, can explain specific changes that you want to make. For example, you can say, okay, I want to create a new connection that's a copy of an existing one. So if you ask Albert that, he will copy that connection and he will bring over everything into the new connection. So those type of things can be done by Albert. And then also, if you want to set up schedules, if you want to create maybe, I don't know, certain transfers, or maybe add some fields to the transfers. So there are many things that you can use Albert for. And I think when it comes to the separate chat, so to speak, that's really useful when you want to set up new connections, because then Albert would help you to do that. Sometimes it's difficult to set up a new connection. Maybe you don't know exactly what needs to be added there, but he can point you to the right direction and say, okay, these are the fields, and then he will explain what you need to add in each of them. So I think that's definitely good help, I would say, from Albert, and it will help you to be independent. And then, of course, automation, which is the last piece, which is more complex. So we can also build custom agents so that you get specific data. One example here is like you are using continuous error on your transfers and you want to receive a report, I would say a daily report or maybe every hour, with the data errors that have been logged. As you know, if you're using continuous error, then you are not getting notified about the errors that are being recorded there. So then you have to go into MyRapidi and check. But if you were to build a custom agent, like I mentioned, then that agent would go through the data errors, check, which are the latest ones, and then send those into an email. And then you would see all the information there. So this is just an example. For sure, there are many other use cases when you can set up a custom agent. And of course, this would allow you to actually get everything via email, for example, instead of going into MyRapidi and scrolling through all those data errors. So that's a really, I would say, a nice use case that you can use, and then make sure that everything is sent to your inbox. And of course, MCP, connect via MCP so that you can do anything that you want within your service, making changes, creating connections, so anything like that. But of course, for the MCP part, we do have a separate session. So then I will show you how to actually use it, and the things that you can do within Rapidi. Things like I would say creating new transfers or any type of configurations or changes. So that's really exciting and it's really interesting. And then it's also really important that you can automate all those tasks, and you can rely on AI for that. Right, so that's really nice. And then next, I will just show you a walkthrough in MyRapidi. So for example, here, let me see, I'll just share my screen here. So for example, this would be my logs, right, in MyRapidi. So then when you get an error, of course, you'll see this icon here. So this is Albert. So it's called Ask Albert for Help. So then if you click on it, then it will open a new chat. So if we go here, so I've done this yesterday. So if you open it, then it creates a new chat. It copies here like a standard text together with the error message. And then Albert will try to respond and give you some recommendations or options. So this is an easy way to get something resolved directly in MyRapidi. So instead of thinking, okay, what an issue is, how do I resolve this? What do I do? Then you can use Albert. So this is the option when you go to logs, and from logs, then you go into Albert. So like you get redirected to Albert. Or you can easily go to Albert here, and then you start a new chat. Right, so that's something that you can do anyway, and then you can start typing and writing what exactly you need. If you need help with something, if you have a question about something, Albert can try to help and give you more information about that. And then all chats are saved here on the left side, so then you can see exactly when you talk to Albert. And of course, for any conversation, you have, I would say, a chat title. So it's like a summary of what has been asked. So you can always see this information here. But of course, when it comes to Albert, we are going to have another session, which is next week. And we can go through that and have a conversation with Albert and ask him to do things and see, how it creates maybe a connection or it updates certain configurations within MyRapidi. Now, what I wanted to also show you, so I will just add the other screen. I think this is the one. Share. Give me a second here. Okay, so this one here, because in my presentation, I also mentioned custom agents. So it's really important to just show you a bit how that works. So when it comes to custom agents, these are agents that you can set up so they do a certain thing. You want them to send you an email with specific information, and you can retrieve that information from all areas. For example, if you want to get information from schedules, from data errors, from logs, like anything that's really relevant for you, right? So that's something that can be done on any service. Now, for example, this is a custom agent that I have set up, right? So this is supposed to send an email to a specific email address and show the data errors, right? And then display them in a table with the relevant information. So this one is being sent every day. So I just want a report once per day. And the agent itself is using a skill. So of course, for any custom agent, it is ideal to have a skill, because that way you can ensure that it does the right thing, right? So this is the same principle. Like for example, when you use ChatGPT or Claude, it's better to have skills set up, so then you get the right outcome from that specific agent. So in this case, it has a specific skill, which is generic. For example, in this case, it can be used by multiple, I would say, agents. And then you have the user prompt, the system prompt, and the settings. So the user prompt is something that you want to additionally include, something that's on top of the skill. For example, where to send the email, what the subject should be, like the dashboard, the link to the service ID, anything that's relevant for you. And then the system prompt, which is usually a default, I would say, prompt that can be set up on any agents, and the settings, which are default settings. So this type of agent can run and can send emails to you and show you which are the new data errors, right? So then it will tell you the date and time when they occurred, the error message, and which are the transfers that are impacted by it. Of course, this can be run more often if you want to, every 30 minutes, every hour, it's up to you. And it's something that I think it's quite useful for those customers that really want to skip those bad records and continue with the rest of them, but still they want to see which are those bad records and take care of those. So it's a way to get notified. It's a way to get all the information that's required directly into your inbox. So this is also, I think a very good example of that. I will stop sharing. So now, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat function, or if you have questions afterwards, you can also reach out separately, and then I will try to cover that part. Then we have the upcoming sessions. So today we just had a brief introduction to AI within MyRapidi, but of course next week we are going to talk about Albert and have some, I would say, use cases and talk to him and see how things go. And then after this, the next week's session, we have another one about MCP, and that's dedicated for the MCP setup. So then you can see exactly how you can use it in case you really need that functionality, and it's something that's useful for you and your company. So this will be the full schedule. So next week and then the week after, and then we finalize, I would say, our office hours for this season. And then if you have any feedback, feel free to add anything here into this form. Any questions, anything specific to the AI usage within MyRapidi, you can also let us know. If there are things that you want to automate, or maybe you want to get specific information via Albert, then please let us know and we can take a look at that and build something. And here, of course, we have resources. So as always, we have our wiki. So we always update wiki and make sure that we have everything there. Of course, I always mention this. If you cannot find something or you think it's incomplete, just let me know, because then I can go in and add more details or maybe more documentation around a specific topic. Also, if there's a topic that has been covered and you find that on the wiki, but maybe it's not 100% complete, also you can reach out and let me know, so then I add more to it, right? So maybe if you're noticing that there are no examples for a specific topic and you think those are useful, you can always reach out to us, and then I can add them. Then we have our wiki page for Albert. So that's the dedicated page, I would say, where you can read more about it. So we are going to document everything moving forward and add more details around Albert, how you can use it, custom agents, MCP, and all that. So that's something that we are going to add as we go. Then you have support. Of course, if you have any issues or anything and you want to reach out to us, you can definitely use that link. You can submit a case via MyRapidi. And then, of course, you can subscribe to our product updates. So that's, I would say, it would be a great thing to subscribe, because then you get good content into your inbox, and then you can read about things that we do. And maybe there are topics that are interesting, or you think that you want to know about, to know more about them. So then yes, subscribe so you get everything straight away. And then we have our release notes. So release notes, they will document everything that has been released. So here, what I want to mention is that every release will consist of many, I would say, details around any fixes, any new systems that we support, any new functionalities, so everything around it. So you can read about that, and then you will see, if we have released a new functionality, then that functionality will be linked to a specific release version. So those are public. Anyone can see them, and as soon as we have new releases, we will add them here, and we will explain what has been done during that release. And I think here it's really important to mention that if you have if you think of new functionalities or features that you need within MyRapidi, you can also reach out, because then we can work on that and then include them into our next release. So that's also really, really important, because a lot of our new functionalities or maybe features, they come from current customers that really want them. So then we get feedback, then we implement them, and then we release them. So then all customers have access to them. So yes, don't forget to check the release notes. And if there are any questions, you can always reach out to us. And that being said, I think we covered everything for today's session. I will see you next week when we are going to talk about Albert. We will have some examples. We'll take a look at how Albert responds and what it can do for us. And then the week after we have MCP, where we will be doing the same. So we just want to make sure that you get all the information that you need so that you can use Albert correctly within MyRapidi. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.